What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at one of the newest characters to be added into the King of Fighters All-Star with the Tekken 7 collaboration round 2 update, that of course being Alisa Bosconovitch. So in today's video we are going to be taking a look at this character, a very quirky character, a very different character, but a character that I feel like up until this point is being a little bit underrepresented and misunderstood, and I want to talk about kind of the benefits and the key points of this character in today's video, because I have had roughly about 4 or 5 days to play around with her thus far, and yeah, she is very, very good, but there are going to be some caveats. But before we go ahead and get into all of that and more, make sure if you guys haven't already done so, you smash that like button and subscribe, and let's just go ahead and get into the talk. So when it comes to Alisa, this character is a red defensive type. Now, of course, being a defensive type, this oftentimes can mean nothing, but in the case of Alisa, it represents her very, very well, because this is a character that is extremely tanky, and you are going to notice that in use cases with this character where she would normally be taking a lot of damage. This character is going to be able to mitigate that damage in a major way, and we'll kind of talk about why as we go through here, but very good stuff right off the bat. Her leadership ability does leave a little bit to be desired, but obviously is going to stand out for one main reason. This is going to increase your Tekken fighters attack by 30%, and they gain 5% power when defeating an enemy. So basically this right here is going to be really good for things such as time attack, but outside of that, I don't really see it being used anywhere else. However, I will say that I did take this character this past week into time attack, and I was able to get a sub 40-second run and get an SS clear out of it. I'm sure you guys probably noticed that day or two, however long it was that she was up for that, the amount of people in the top ranks using this character. So therefore, it's pretty obvious that this character, while she isn't necessarily going to be the uber god SSS tier time attack meta character like we've seen with some of these characters more recently, she is still going to be right up there and going to be very good there. So this character right off the bat has a very important use case in time attack, but she does have a lot of those that we're going to be talking about as we go here. So we'll go ahead and move on to the cores. If we take a look at the cores, you're going to notice she has that 30% power charge rate increase. She's also going to have an increase to her HP and her defense. So right off the bat here, the power charge rate increase, you'll love to see it on any of your new characters. But when it comes to these two right here, this is going to be where you start to see her slant a little bit more towards being a little bit more defensive minded, as we mentioned with her being a red defensive type, and she definitely makes the most of these types of things, as you guys will see. Now, when it comes to other things in here, she is going to have an increase to her 2 dots, of which she has, like I mentioned, 2 dots on her kit. So this is a character that is far more traditionally minded than some of these other newer characters with this collaboration, because you'll see that she does have bleed and poison represented in her kit. This is really good, especially when we talk about handle with caution, which basically lives and dies off of those. So if we take a look here, we'll talk about the 2 exclusive cores. First one here, handle with caution, like I mentioned, makes her immune to burn, poison, shock, stun, and petrify right out the gate. So this right here is really good, particularly in things such as championship or PvP, especially that burn, stun, and petrify, because those 3 you arguably are going to see a little bit more often than poison and shock. Although you will see these other 2, these 3 here you see very often. So those are going to be really good for her just to have natural immunity to. Other things here, she's going to increase active skill damage on bleeding targets by 60% and decrease active skill cooldowns by 0.2 seconds upon landing a skill on a poison target. So she does have 2 cores here, both of which are going to be only active when she does have a dot applied. Now, she does have 2 dots, as I mentioned. She has bleed and poison. However, she does also have explosion. Now, her explosion is going to be a little bit different. Instead of 5.5 times, it is 6 times. However, it is not spammable. It is on her core finisher, meaning you're going to have to wait for that core finisher to be useful again, or be usable again rather. And with that being said, you're not going to be really necessarily gravitating towards a lot of things that you would normally gravitate towards for these explosion characters, since she can't spam it. So when we talk about things like stones and cards, that will come up. But suffice it to say, she wants those dots applied because both of these right here are really, really strong, especially that 60%. That is very important for her overall damage. Other things in here, PvP exclusive of a 20% chance to deal 40% of the target's max HP as damage upon landing a skill on a target with 40% or less HP. This is really, like it says in the name, it's only really useful for PvP, so not much to talk about in regards to what we're going to be going over today. However, for those of you out there who play PvP, I'm sure you can already tell right off the bat how good this could be. So this is really, really good stuff so far, but it continues to get better when we get to high mobility. High mobility is going to recover 7% HP when attacked by a target with 70% HP or higher on a cooldown of 3 seconds, and decreases her damage received by 90% for 5 seconds when she's attacked on a cooldown of 10 seconds. So if we take a look here, recovering 7% of HP when attacked by a target with 70% or higher, that is only on a 3-second cooldown. This makes her extremely good for things such as Deimos base. Actually, big shout out to Latino, one of our data miners over in our Discord. If you guys haven't been over to our Discord, link is in the description. But over on the Discord, Latino actually posted a screenshot yesterday. He was able to clear Deimos base exclusively with Alisa. And if you guys would notice her HP there, yeah, this character can tank almost anything. Really, really tanky character. You do have to be careful. You don't want to just take hits, right? Especially when it comes to things in Deimos base as it pertains to the dots and so on. But this character right here is super good. Super, super valuable there if you know what you're doing. So that is going to be that. Other things that we can take a look at here, she is going to have Fated Retribution. So basically what this means is she's going to increase her critical damage by 70% at 10 or more combo hits. This right here is good. However, it isn't anything that is absolutely pivotal for her. I can see this being way more important for other characters, especially Devil Jin coming up since he's based on crits. But that increase is still nice. It's just not anything that is overly crazy when it comes to this particular character. She's also going to preserve 50% of damage received and recover 1% every time a skill lands. This is something that is really unique and really, really cool. So basically what'll happen is you'll notice you'll have like a red secondary bar on your HP bar whenever you take damage. And basically what that means is that HP is available to recover if you're able to use this. So really, really good stuff in the cores. This character's tankiness cannot go understated. And honestly, is going to be one of those characters that in any type of game mode where you need that sustain, she is going to be a go-to. However, she does have other use cases, and we haven't even gotten to her damage output yet. So let's talk about the skills. When we talk about the skills, the first thing we need to talk about is this is going to be a stance change character. So stance change is kind of confusing for some people. I'll try to explain it. So what you're going to notice here is on the S3 for these stance change characters, they're going to have stance change, right? So if you click these little arrows, it'll change what skills you can see because they're going to basically, in essence, be an extra skill on these kits because you're going to notice that the stance change takes up the 3rd skill on both stances, and then you're going to have 2 skills, an S1 and S2, respectively for each stance. So if we take a look here, we basically have 4 skills we need to go through, but I want to talk about stance change as a mechanic real quick. So the first thing you're going to want to know is this can be used when attacked, but it's limited to when you're airborne. So it is a save. That is really good. What you can do with this is I've actually used this quite a bit, like for instance against Omega Rugal in Inferno difficulty. When we show you guys that footage, you'll be able to see that like when he goes for the stun and the nuke, I actually use this to try and kind of just get myself back into the fight a little bit quicker after he nukes. And this can be really good offensively as well. So definitely something to be noted there about that. However, keep in mind it is restricted to airborne only. However, it does increase your attack by 25% for 5 seconds and increases your strike skill damage of your allies and yourself by 30% for 15 seconds. So this character does, and I know a lot of people are going to harp on because she is going to be very good at it, this character is going to be a very, very good support, right? This is going to be one of those characters that you can take in and use her as a support, just tag in, get whatever buffs you want from her kit, and then use those and parlay those into your next character that is going to be your main damage dealer. That is how a lot of people choose to use a lot of these types of characters, and that isn't a bad thing. The thing is I do think that a lot of people are underestimating just how strong this character's damage output is by herself. And I hope you guys will see that in this video today. So that is pretty much what we got there, but if we then go ahead and switch it, it's going to change, right? So whereas before we had this guy here that increased our strike skill damage of our allies and ourself by 30%, now we're increasing our critical rate of our allies and ourself by 6% for 15 seconds, and of course we have that increase to attack again. So it is still limited to airborne, but it is worth noting these things have very, very short cooldowns. You'll be able to stance change pretty much anytime you want for the most part, and always keep in mind that you do have the ability to use that airborne interrupt. That is very important. Now, let's talk about the skills. When we talk about the skills, first off here, we'll talk about the S1 for hard reset. Now, of course, this is going to be her without the chainsaws, right? Because when we get to the chainsaws, that's when it changes over. So, without the chainsaws, we are going to have on the S1 hard reset, which can be used when attacked, limited to standing or airborne. So we have another option for an interrupt here. This one is not just going to be airborne. This one also has standing on it. Really good stuff. This is also, of course, going to be where we have our hyper armor, and then we increase our attack by 30% of defense for 7 seconds when using a skill. So that is going to be that one right there. Pretty much your standard airborne / standing interrupt with hyper armor for your characters that we see almost exclusively on all these new characters. So when it comes to the next skill on the S2, and then we'll move on to the chainsaw skills, this one's going to increase our attack by 30% of defense for 7 seconds when using a skill. It also is going to boast our venom, so this is going to be where we get our poison, and that's pretty much what we got on the S2. Now it's important to note this S2 is going to be her double rocket punch. This is going to be her projectile. This is so abused in things such as Deimos based time attack, etc., because once it hits that first enemy, it continues to go across the screen. So it's going to basically go full across the screen, even off screen where you can't see it, and it will take out whatever is in its way. So this is really good as a projectile and helps her a ton with clearing harder content or mobs and keeping her a little bit farther away from the fray, as it were. So that is going to be what she has as far as the non-chainsaw skills. Let's take a look at what happens when we stance change and we have the chainsaws, right? So on the S1, all team members obtain 4% power upon use on a cooldown of 3 seconds. Again, this character has time attack usefulness for days, and she applies bloodshed. So she has bloodshed, she has venom, she has both of her dots. On the S2 for the non-chainsaw skills, you'll have your poison or your venom, and then you will have bloodshed here on the S1 with the chainsaws. So good stuff. Keep those in mind because again, you get those core buffs from those if you have those dots applied. And then here on the S2, she stuns all enemies for 3 seconds upon use on a cooldown of 3 seconds. Another useful one for things such as time attack. And then she has a 70% chance to remove super or hyper armor from all targets upon use. So this character has a ton of usefulness. This character's damage output is easily underestimated, and once you guys see some of the footage, you will see even with this character not being properly built, which we'll talk about, she is going to be extremely destructive, and I'm very happy with what we're seeing. So talking about things that are destructive, right? Let's go ahead and talk about her finishers. So the first one here is going to be the core finisher. Now the core finisher is, as we mentioned, going to deal bleed or poison damage equal to 6 times the remaining bleed or poison damage. Basically what this means is she has explosion on her core. She has it in the form of 6 times explosion. This is really good, obviously, because it's a little bit better than 5.5 times, which we're used to. Keep in mind, however, she gets those buffs in her cores from having the dots applied. And honestly, you guys, outside of when a shield is down, using this for that quick 6 times explosion damage when the shield's down on a guild raid boss, I don't think you really need to worry about trying to use this all that often. This, in my opinion, is more of just a bonus than anything. I don't think she really needs to use this in order to get good damage, especially when you see the run that I'll show you in Inferno. And again, that is improperly built because I don't have the proper cards yet for her. Ideally, you're going to see some really good damage numbers for an SS character like this, and that is going to be because of her ability to spam these skills on her awakening and things of that nature, not necessarily because she has this explosion. However, it is beneficial, and you'll definitely appreciate having it in certain modes. I just want to make sure that people are aware you don't need to lean on that explosion for her, because it's a little tough to do that with explosion when it's just hampered to a core finisher, but it is still useful to have. And then finally, we have her final skill here, which is going to be her 3PG finisher. If we take a look here, this one is going to increase our attack by 12% for 10 seconds when using it. Not anything too crazy. It is a decently long one, but it isn't anything that is going to be like Ramlethal levels of ridiculous as far as length, but it is still really good. So that is what we got as far as the effects on this character. Let's talk about the build, right? So the first thing I need to stress, this character and all these Tekken characters in general, their damage output skyrockets in a major way using the new Tekken set. I don't have it yet. If you guys haven't seen my pull video, when I pulled this girl, I went very minimally on volume 1 because I'm planning on going hard on volume 2, and that also means the card banner for volume 2 because it's going to have basically all the same cards outside of Alisa's finisher, right? So I'm waiting. However, the new card set for the Tekken set is the ideal set. This card set, put it this way, you guys. This card set, by comparison to what you're going to see in today's video using the Fugitive set, right, is probably going to yield you about 2 billion, 3 billion more damage on average, more than likely, by the end of the fight, with all the proper cards built and used on this character. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that that's how much of a difference this character in any of these Tekken characters get from that card set. So I want to make sure that I don't underestimate or underrepresent to you guys just how important the Tekken set is. It's very important for these characters. I just don't have it yet. Once I have it, I will do a follow-up video. That's why I haven't done necessarily showcases or anything like that, much less spotlights. I'm going to wait to get that card set because it is unfair to these characters because that set was tailor-made for these characters. Obviously, a lot of their potential is locked behind having it. And once I get it, I will show you guys exactly the difference, but I get the feeling it is going to make a massive difference. So when it comes to not having the new card set though, my recommendation to you guys is the Fugitive set. This card set is good on her for obvious reasons. She is a defensive type, so she'll get this benefit. But being able to go in there and being able to get this guy right here is also really good. And this character, to be honest with you guys, she does have moments where she isn't going to have her finishers available because they are both on the quicker end, so they end up overlapping on cooldowns a lot of the time. So she isn't going to be spamming her finishers as much as a character like a Cronin or etc. would. So this character to me really does like this set. Like I mentioned though, the Tekken set, the new one on the new banner, is obviously far and away going to be better on her in my opinion, and that I don't think is going to be close. I'm just using this because it's what I have available to me. You guys, if you have the other set, definitely use that. Now when it comes to other things here, option card wise, I am using the newest Tekken option. Now, I'm using this one mainly because I'm testing it, but also because it's a good little option card. You could use other things if you wanted to. Obviously, being that this is a defensive character, you could go ahead and just use this guy right here. So that is an option there as well. Any of your 1.9 second cooldown cards are always a good option. I'm just going to use this one for now, like I mentioned, because it's new and I'm testing it, and it seems to be doing pretty well on her overall. And then this guy here, all reliable for me, the Gintama option. I use this anytime I can, really. So that's what we got as far as the cards are concerned. And like I said, guys, 1.9 second cooldown cards are really the way to go on this character. You don't really need to worry about much else. So if you want to do that, go for it. Otherwise, if you want stats, you can go for things like this. But that's pretty much what I've got on there right now. When it comes to her stones, you guys are going to notice I don't really have the proper stones right now, so especially for my Moon and my Star Stone. Right now, there is a bug going on with any of the Tekken stones, so if you are using more than 3 stones on your characters, meaning that you're trying to use all 3 of the Tekken stones up here, and you want to use one of these guys down here as a Tekken stone, you're probably going to get a bug where you're not going to get the proper power from it, so just keep that in mind. However, right now, what I have on her is I have the Tekken 7 stone here on this 1 slot for the circle. I also have the Tekken 7 stone for the hexagon on the 3 slot. And then right here in the middle, I am using this special signature volume 3 square stone. So the reason why I'm using this one is this is going to give my active skill damage buff. I could go ahead and use this guy right here. This one's going to increase target's damage received by 12% for 5 seconds. on a cooldown of 10 seconds, I believe. But this guy right here just gives me a flat 10% at all times. I opted to go for this one. Being that she's an SS character, you can pretty much play around with it. Same as the way you can play with the option cards. Like if I didn't have this on here, I would just go ahead and I would be using this guy right here, because obviously this guy right here is incredibly good. But you know, it comes down to what you have available, what you want to use. Anytime you see an SS tag on a character, though, one of the biggest key benefits to that is going to be they have access to these SS exclusive cards as well as stones. So you may as well take a look at it and see if you can improve their viability, even in the slightest, by switching over to some of those. And then when it comes to these, I only have placeholders here right now. Obviously, this one is attack and bleed, which is nice, but it's a silver stone. I just don't have any gold ones that are useful on her. And speaking of gold stones that aren't really useful, I have this one right here. This is mainly just a placeholder for stats. It increases her defense, or defense type fighters attack by 12% and their attack by 10%. But then it increases chill, which is whatever. It's not there for that, obviously. It's just there for the stats for the other two. And yeah, that's pretty much what I got there. Not much to talk about outside of that. You know, when it comes to my core board, I do have my core board set up as so. So you guys are going to notice that on destructive form, which is the stance change, you can't really do anything with that. So that's why I've got that. And then when it comes to this guy right here, we do have two different EX skills. So this one here is going to reset your tag cooldowns and increase all team members' critical damage by 40%. And then this one right here is going to be Heavy Blow. This resets your tag cooldowns and increases all team members' strike skill damage by 40%. Depending on the situation you're in, you could pretty much make a case for either one of these as a good support utility option. In my opinion, though, it comes down to kind of what you're thinking. This character does have a decent amount. If you take a look at her kit, she does have a decent amount of strike skills on her kit. So you could technically, maybe if you wanted to, go for that second one there. But honestly, you guys, most people I think are probably going to go for body and soul. It just comes down to what team you're using her on, because this is dependent on strikes. So if you're using a character heavy on strikes as your main damage dealer in some sort of team run or something like that, I could definitely see that being good. But this guy right here, being a flat critical damage increase of 40%, is really, really good. So that's pretty much what you got there. I haven't chosen one yet. I don't really feel the need to right this second. I will later, but right now I've just been mainly focused on playing her. And of course, when it comes to other things here, I have increased my attack as well as my penetration, the usual two stats you would increase. And again, this is self-explanatory. So that's pretty much what it's going to be when it comes to Alisa's kit, you guys. So basically, the takeaway here is this character is going to be very, very good against Omega Rugal. That is first and foremost. This character is built, being the fact that she has Bleed and Poison, for Omega Rugal. So this character is going to be able to absolutely bully him. That is one thing. But then in things such as Deimos base, time attack, and a lot of other content in this game, this character is going to be very, very solid. This is a character that can put up really, really good solid numbers for an SS type. This is not an EX character, so we shouldn't be expecting, you know, 7, 8, 9 billion damage in Inferno solo. However, I do think that once this character, like if I had that new Tekken set and I had her fully maxed out and I had the proper build on here, I could definitely see her hitting 5, 6 billion damage in Inferno. I could see it. I think that's possible against Omega Rugal. I think you guys will probably see people hit around those numbers at some point. I think right now a lot of people are just slow rolling these banners until banner 2, because most people want Devil Jin, and I know that that's what I'm doing, so I'm in the waiting room for the Devil Jin, as it were. So, you know, I think there's a lot of company in there with me right now, and so therefore I think later on you guys are going to see a lot of people start gravitating to these characters a little bit more. It's just going to take a little bit of time until we get that other banner, because everybody's trying to play it safe. Other things in here, I can take a look at the fame here real quick. That's my fame. So pretty much that's what you got there, you guys. And that's what we're taking a look at today. So that's going to be Alisa. So basically this character I'm very happy with. I think this character is super, super good. I think this character is very misunderstood. I don't think that this character is in any way, shape, or form as complicated as people like to make her out to be. I think that really it's a basic character that is doing basic things that we're normally used to, that is very quirky, very different in certain areas. But if you're somebody that's played this game for even a few months, I would say, because most of these characters tend to be very cut and paste. I think that you'll be right at home with her, or at least adjust to using her very quickly. But anyway, you guys, I'm going to get to the footage and let you guys enjoy that. I hope you all found this informative. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of Alisa Bosconovitch, because I personally think this character is super, super good. And not only from an offensive standpoint as a damage dealer, but also from a defensive standpoint, which is very important to note. And then also as a utility support character. I think this character's versatility is very, very good. And I think she's going to age very well. So anyway, you guys, let me know in the comment section down below what you think of all this. Like, share, and subscribe on your way out. And until the next one, you all take care and enjoy the footage. Peace.